He told ChatGPT to hide these two bodies, and the craziest thing is the police read every single word. Now, here are 3 real cases where AI chat's logs become the prosecution's most powerful evidence and the one legal ruling that changed everything. So what happens when you tell, for example, ChatGPT everything? You know, like how many times have you been kind of going through your mind and you're like just pouring your heart and soul into ChatGPT? Well, here's kind of like the situation that someone ended up doing with ChatGPT. Someone asked ChatGPT, what happens if a person is put in a black garbage bag and thrown in a dumpster? That sounds dangerous and potentially illegal. Are you okay? How would they find out? So these 2 messages typed into ChatGPT 3 days before 2 doctoral students went missing and were included in the murder indictment filed against Hisham Abergabe, 26 in Tampa, Florida. And the source is ABC News, where these 2 bodies were essentially gone just several days after someone prompted this into ChatGPT. Now, he asked ChatGPT how to dispose of a body 3 days before the crime. ChatGPT said it sounded dangerous and he kept on going. So this was the roommate of the University of South Florida doctoral student Zamil Limon, charged with 2 counts of first-degree murder in the deaths of Limon and Nashida Bristi, both 27, both from Bangladesh. Limon's body was found near the Horde Frankel's Bridge. Court records show Abergabe asked ChatGPT about body disposal, guns, and surveillance cameras in the days before and after the killings. So what prosecutors got from OpenAI through a legal warrant, investigators obtained the full ChatGPT conversation logs, every question, every timestamp, every response. Florida Attorney General expanded criminal investigation into OpenAI as a result. And this is literally what the conversation was like. April 13, 3 days before. What happens if a person is put in a black garbage bag and thrown in a dumpster? April 15, 1 day before. Can you keep a gun at home without a license? April 19, 3 days after. Will my neighbors hear my gun? Has there been someone who survived a sniper bullet to the head? Same day. Will Apple know who is the new iPhone user after the previous user? Week after, on April 23rd. What does missing endangered adult mean? All this was literally in this person's ChatGPT. Now, the full search history, this is what the prosecution showed the judge. April 13, responded. April 15, same thing. April 19, same thing. April 23, same thing. And the source, all of these messages sourced directly from ABC News, NBC News, CBS News. And these are the actual questions from the court filing, not actually paraphrased. So the second case study where ChatGPT was also used was to generate images of people fleeing a fire. Then he started one. So Jonathan Rinderbeck, charged with federal arson for allegedly starting a fire that grew into destructive Palisades fire in California, charged October 25th. And you could see exactly here the fire and exactly what ended up happening, right? But after calling 911 to report the fire, Rinderbeck asked ChatGPT, are you at fault if a fire is lit because of your cigarette? He called 911, then immediately asked ChatGPT if he could be blamed for it. Those 2 things in sequence told prosecutors everything, okay? And when you think about this, this is literally what he asked. Generate an image of people running from a fire. I once burned a Bible and it felt so liberated. Are you at fault if a fire is lit because of your cigarettes? Now, it's not just ChatGPT. Every AI chat platform now keeps records and police can essentially subpoena it. So a Snapchat AI conversation served as a key evidence in a 2024 murder trial in Virginia. The defendant had used Snapchat's My AI feature, a chatbot built into the app. They thought it was private, and it wasn't. You can see there's more and more of these ChatGPT conversations, Snapchat conversations, but ultimately a chatbot built for teenagers became murder evidence. The pattern across all cases, people tell AI what they won't tell anyone else. And this is just key insights because all the things that you're essentially telling to ChatGPT, to Claude, to whatever, it's being recorded, it's being documented. Someone can actually read those, someone can actually see those. Now, a federal judge ruled AI chatbot conversations are not privileged. Prosecutors can use them. On February 2026, U.S. District Judge Jed Rakoff of the Southern District of New York ruled that conversations with AI chatbots are not protected under attorney-client privileges or work under product doctrine. The former CEO had used Claude to research his defense strategy before his indictment. He argued this was confidential legal research. The judge disagreed completely. The attorney's warning. Attorney Rory Sarif told AZ family, you're not chatting with an attorney, so there's no privilege there. Lawyers read the fine print, but a lot of folks maybe don't. The implication, anything you tell an AI chatbot, including your defense strategy, your plans, your questions, can be subpoenaed and used against you in court. There is no legal protection, literally none, okay? These are kind of the updates that are now happening like with AI. And the thing is, it's easier than you think. Here's exactly how it works. Suspect is arrested or investigated. Law enforcement identifies suspect through traditional investigation. Legal warrant issued to OpenAI, Anthropic, or Snapchat. Company provides full conversation logs with timestamp. Conversation logs entered as evidence in court. Timestamps are everything. In the Florida case, the sequence of questions with exact dates was more damning than any single message. Body disposal 3 days before, gun 1 day before, phone reset 3 days after, missing person 7 days after. The timeline literally told the story. Now, ChatGPT is not a confessional. It has no privilege. So, protected by law, doctor, patient, you can tell your doctor anything. They cannot be compelled to testify against you without your consent. Medical privilege is legally protected. By law, lawyer, client, everything you tell your attorney is privileged, cannot be subpoenaed, cannot be used as evidence, one of the oldest protections in law. Then you have law, priest and confessor. Religious confessions is legally protected in most U.S. states. A priest cannot be compelled to reveal what you confess. This is a clergy penitent privilege. But ChatGPT, Claude, Gemini, Snapchat AI, zero legal protection, fully subpoenable, fully admissible. Okay, now, right now, there's like legal privilege for therapy, not for ChatGPT. So the CEO of OpenAI said this publicly on a podcast, his own product. People talk about the most personal stuff in their lives to ChatGPT. People use it, young people especially, like use it as a therapist, a life coach. And right now, if you talk to a therapist or a lawyer or a doctor about those problems, there's like a legal privilege for it. But for ChatGPT, there isn't, okay? And OpenAI is now under criminal investigation in Florida. Here's why. The USF murders weren't just crime cases. They triggered a broader legal battle over whether ChatGPT should have flagged danger searches and whether OpenAI has any responsibility when its platform is used to plan crimes. So the criminal probe into OpenAI expanded to include USF murders. The Attorney General, James Uthenmeyer, had already launched a criminal investigation into OpenAI after a mass shooting at Florida State University. The USF murders expanded the probe. AI regulation was added to a special legislative session. Now, a mass shooter had concerning ChatGPT conversations beforehand. Jesse Van Rootseller, 18, killed a teacher and 5 students at Tumbler Ridge Secondary School in BC, Canada. In February 2026, Sam Altman issued an apology to the community. Van Rootseller had exhibited concerning ChatGPT behavior beforehand. Now, OpenAI spokesperson Drew Pisateri, this is a terrible crime, and our thoughts are with everyone affected. We're looking into these reports, and we'll do whatever we can to support law enforcement in their investigation. Now, here's the thing. The core legal question is, how do you feel with ChatGPT knowing every single thing? Every single thing. Just kind of like think about all the things that you've kind of like said to ChatGPT or Claude or whatever. How do you feel about that? And how do you know that someone is out there essentially looking over your shoulder and just peering to all of the intimate details that you might have explained to, for example, an AI bot? So people tell AI everything because it feels safe. But when you think about like the privacy of things, how would you feel if someone has access to all the things? Like, would you feel, it's almost kind of like as embarrassing as if someone like saw your Google search, you know? And why people overshare, AI feels non-judgmental and private. It doesn't interrupt, it doesn't react with shock, it doesn't tell anyone. People confide things to an AI they wouldn't tell their spouse, a friend, or a therapist. Wired found 1.2 million ChatGPT users per week express suicidal ideations to the chatbot. Why this is dangerous? The feeling of privacy is completely false. OpenAI stores your conversations by default on their service, accessible via warrant. You are not talking to a private diary. You are sending messages to a corporation servers in real time. Now, what investigators say, the directness of AI confessions is unprecedented. This makes AI chat logs more revealing than text messages, which people know can be read. So people write in their ChatGPT history things that they never write in text messages to a friend because they think it disappears, but it doesn't. The practical steps, if you care about privacy when using AI tools, is Turn off chat history in ChatGPT settings. Treat AI like a recorded phone call. Always never use AI for actual legal strategy if you're under investigation. For sensitive professional matters, use a lawyer, doctor, or therapist. For business, use enterprise AI with the data processing agreement. Business conversation go through enterprise tools, not consumer apps. Now, should AI have flagged these conversations before the crime? What are your thoughts? Because in the Florida case, ChatGPT responded to the body disposal question by saying it sounded dangerous. It didn't alert anyone. The conversation just continued. This is a question that will redefine AI for the next decade. The case for mandatory reporting. AI companies should alert law enforcement for certain queries. Florida is building exactly this case. If someone asks ChatGPT how to dispose of a body, should the company be required to report it? Like how therapists must report certain imminent threats. The case against mandatory reporting. False positives would destroy trust and usefulness. Writers ask how to hide bodies for fiction. Screenwriters, journalists, curious people. A mandatory reporting system would flag millions of innocent searches for every real criminal. The chilling effect of free speech is enormous. Now, the unresolved legal question is, this is generally unsettled law. The Florida investigation into OpenAI is the first major legal test. The outcome will determine how AI companies handle dangerous queries for the next generation. Now, ChatGPT is not a confessional. It is a witness. There are 3 real case studies. There is 0 legal protection. And what you can do is, if you don't like being recorded, you could turn off chat. You could treat AI like a recorded call. Use real lawyers for legal matters. Use enterprise tools for business. But it just kind of opens up a question on what actually is the right answer. Like, I don't personally know what's the right answer. Because regardless of what it is the case, like, how would you just feel if someone can just kind of like see everything that you're constantly saying? And it kind of like now combines AI with morality, with faith, with these bigger questions that I don't think that we have actually wrapped our head around these concepts. I'm curious about your thoughts, because I think the biggest thing that I'm really thinking about is, how do we use these tools effectively, but also with the privacy of knowing that whatever you say, it could be read. Just kind of think about that, right? It doesn't seem like there's a right answer. It's like, okay, now everyone can read exactly what it is that you're typing. But man, I've typed like some really embarrassing stuff in a ChatGPT. I'm like, why do my toes look like that? Or what's wrong with my poop? Or all that stuff. Like, just kind of like the weirdest things. So yeah, I'm just really curious on your thoughts, because